And I remembered to unmute us all. Woo.
Nice.
Yay! Woohoo!
Thank you for putting that up.
Oh, your thingy?
Yes.
Yeah. I did something new.
Yay.
Yeah. Oi. Bunch of people in it. Who do we have in the chat? Amiga?
Oh,
Should we say hi?
let's see.
And then critical.
We have Critical Cripple, Godless
Hi.
Sewing, Mark Caesar,
Yeah.
Greg Hardwick.
Yeah.
Greg
Someone
who?
called Doorknobhead. Who the?
Oh yeah.
Where? Oh, in the chat? Cool.
Yeah, who's that?
Doorknob head. What's he doing in the chat?
We got somebody named Slim Living Cyborg.
Oh.
Yes, hello all.
Got someone named eoSam.
Oh, yeah.
House.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Linda's here. Linda's in the
Yeah.
house.
I am. I'm not just an
Critical, why are you licking people?
illusion.
Linda.
Yeah, he licked me. Ooh.
Linda? Over there? Linda.
Okay.
All right.
I've been amongst people, so I'm a bit tired.
Yeah, I know how that is.
How tired are you?
What kind of people?
What kind of people? Well, we went to get my mom's new car today,
Oh.
and she had to show it to some friends, and I drove along. Well, I got to drive Morton's car today because it had to be filled up with petrol.
Uh-oh.
Now you can drive my car.
that?
Fill it up, please.
Petrol.
Of course.
That's what they had in the 20s, right? Petrol?
Diesel power.
Oh, so you can run it off of French fry grease.
French fries.
I think it's too new.
And you have to like do a conversion to it anyways to do that. But I had a couple friends that did that in the 90s because fast food companies used to throw it away, and they used to actually give it to my friends. Now they'll sell it to you. But in the early 90s, you could actually just drive your hippie van to McDonald's and ask them for the grease from the grease trap, and they'd actually give you this vat.
Yeah.
And then you pour it and you drive on it. It smelled like French fries the whole time you were driving. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. That's a pretty good smell.
Yeah.
That what
Unless
heaven
you're
smells
hungry.
like?
then-
Exactly.
I think so. But being that it's if it's a Christian heaven, it probably won't smell like that.
No.
Yeah.
You don't smell like Christmas.
Smell like fried French.
Fried French, yeah.
It'll be their interpretation of French fries. Their interpretation.
So sweet potato fries?
Yeah, who knows? Could be.
Ooh, the wheel.
The wheel. The wheel.
The
Wheel.
wheel is here.
You got the wheel.
Oh.
It actually has a bunch of topics on it
Yep.
for a certain day.
Like tomorrow.
Like maybe tomorrow.
Hockey
If
man?
you look at all the words,
Yeah.
you probably will be able to figure out what the day is.
It's kind of hard to see the one.
The most scary one is open topic.
Oh, well,
Ooh.
that's
That's open for
usually
you.
that's
If you land on
usually
open
the
topic.
chat that comes up
Yeah.
with that.
Kismet. What's Kismet? Do I gotta look up Kismet?
Go ahead, look it up.
Isn't that the Jewish word for luck?
Wait, you have to wait till we spin it. Start talking about them.
We're pre-talking. Oh.
You can't ask a question like
No
that and
questions,
not
no
have me
questions.
answer it if I know.
Then you have to
I know
say
the
the
answer.
word Donapet if
That
you want
is
to
the
know.
rule. No questions.
I know what I mean.
Question not.
I gotta look up etymology now.
Answer yes.
Triskaidekaphobia. Whoa.
Ooh, what?
Triskaidekaphobia.
Mhm.
Which is the fear of
13.
I was gonna say I kind of don't want to know, but then I do.
This is what happens when you put the nerd who has her hand raised
Oh,
up
try.
in class all the time. You don't ask. Yeah.
Well,
If
well, I-
all of y'all hate me afterwards, I completely understand.
I normally know the phobias because I have a thing about medical stuff, but yeah,
hold your arm up.
You have medical phobias?
yeah.
Oh,
No, I like to study about medical things, and phobias are a mental kind of not disorder per se, but you know, it's a mental thing, and then some people have it for certain things so bad it actually causes detriment to their life, or they can't go outside, or you know. So in studying medical things, one of them is phobias is a fun thing to look at, because certain things that people are scared of, it is very interesting to find out why or how they became phobic to that, you know, like door sills or doors themselves. Some people are scared to go through doors. You're like, man, how can you go through life being scared to walk through a door? You know.
Doorknob, what's the answer?
Exactly.
you can walk over me, but not through me.
Never again says spin.
Yay! Yeah, the magic word is spin.
Knock on wood.
The word is knock on wood. Ready
So-
go. Ready
Ooh.
go.
So does everybody know where the superstition for knocking on wood came from?
Probably would have to do with something with witches, maybe.
So I do not remember which. I don't remember. It's a pagan tradition, but I don't remember which area of Europe it came from. But there were a lot of woods around back in the days, and a lot of people lived in woods, you know, or around them. They believed that fairies lived inside of trees, especially ones that had hollow knots or knots in them. So as they walked by, they would knock on the tree and make a wish. And they were hoping that by knocking on the wood of the tree, the fairy would listen, and then they would say what they hoped would happen, or their wish, and they would hope that would come true from the fairy in the tree being woken up by the knock.
Ah.
Gnarly.
Interesting. How do you know
Wow.
that? How do you know that? That's what I'd like to know. Did you read that somewhere?
That's another fun thing about being a sideshow artist. I run an oddities tent, and so we have a handful of historical things, like all the weird things behind me. That's the lost skull of Abel. It has the rock in his head right there. You can kind of see in the jar, the head in the jar. So we have handfuls of haunted items and historical items, and sometimes we delve into mythology and some of the stuff we have. And in knocking on wood, I believe we had a piece of wood that was supposed to be good luck or something, and that was one of the things that we told inside of our tent.
Wow, that's something else, I must say.
Yeah.
Tales of the Tent.
But don't just trust me. I would, go and look it up. But to the research we did about knocking on wood that's what we found out.
Well, I'll be back in a moment.
That's what's fun about old school pagan mythology. Same with Native American ideology. Everything has a spirit in it or around it or controls, that aspect of reality. It's very interesting. I have a bunch of Native American stuff around as well. Being in Colorado, in the Americas, where really, what did you hold up there?
Huh?
What's that?
I just turned on my ring light on my camera.
I was talking to the door.
Oh, it's a back scratcher.
Okay. I thought maybe it was a Native American thing,
no.
or yeah. I have my badger skin cap that's Native American and mountain man, and it's from a museum. So
Nice.
it's about 100 years old, maybe a little bit older.
Badger skin?
Yes, it's a badger skin.
That's
Which
great.
if you were going to see somebody walking in the pioneer days down through the streets wearing a badger skin cap, that is the person you do not want to mess with.
Oh, would they be bad tempered?
Well, the badgers are one of the meanest animals
Okay.
that you can try to kill. So if somebody had killed one and they're wearing it on their head, you don't want to mess with that person.
Okay.
We're laughing because there's somebody a bunch of us know called Bad Tempered Badger.
Yeah, and that's pretty much
Yeah.
the saying, is badgers are mean, and so if you see somebody with a wolf or a bear, that those I think are more dangerous, but the badger is known as an animal that if somebody's wearing it, there could be bad tempered like the badger, or so it is. That's funny. You got to let badger know that. I'll find him on Discord and send him a picture of my
There you go.
hat.
Maybe he can wear it on
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, we're talking about a badger that was in the Americas, and he's in England.
Yeah.
So
It'll
Kinder.
still mess with him. He's
Yeah.
easy to mess
Badger.
with.
yeah,
I have 200-year-old minx tails.
As you do.
Wow.
So I got this from a Native American. She gave me a couple minx tails that her grandmother
Oh, wow.
skinned and gave her. So these are 200 years old.
Wow.
That's one thing that's fun about running an oddities tent. You kind of get gifted a handful of things because sometimes people don't know where to put them, and you're like, oh, I run an oddities tent, and they're like, well, I have this from my great-great-grandmother that we don't know what to do with, so here, use it in your show. So I have a handful of hand-me-downs from
Something
family.
finally older than me. I'm not that old.
yes, you are.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so
You're welcome.
what else about knocking on wood? Does anybody have a story about knocking on wood?
That sounds like a superstition.
It's definitely where it comes from. It's a wives' tale, old wives' tale, or whatever.
I remember as a kid, any superstition I could find, I would try to break it, like walking under a ladder or having a cat step in front of you. I would purposely do those things.
Oh yeah, me
I would
too.
tempt the fate. Bring it on.
My favorite thing was to use the number 13 and everything, because it freaked out the religious people. You know, if you have 13 around you or wear a necklace that's 13, it used to freak them out. Yeah, I'm really into freaking out religious people. I hand make these upside down crosses.
Excellent.
And then I have Baphomets too that I make. I don't know where I put it, but I have Baphomets that I make. Yeah.
What are your favorite materials to work with when you make stuff?
So the family's been casting pewter for the past 50 years. So I grew up working with metals, but now I work with resins. So this was handmade, and it's made out of a resin that we just make look like it's made out of bone. And then same with this, and we just make it look like it's metal, but it's actually just a hard plastic. And that's what the medium I'm working in right now that is pseudo easy, but we do stuff with marble and wood, as well as the metal still. So I work in a lot of different mediums.
Yeah, resin is fairly easy to mimic other things, I've noticed. Yeah. I've never worked with it myself. The smell alone would probably kill me. Yeah. Because I'm sensitive to smells. But resin's just something that once you get the hang of it and know what you're doing, you can do basically anything with it.
I can mimic any texture, any color, I can make it look almost like anything. I can make it look like different types of metal, wood, stone, marble. So it's just on how you texture it. So yeah, I can mimic almost anything with the resin that I use. It just matters on how you stain it or how you cover it and work with it after you pour it as well.
Yeah.
Especially if I make a mold off of, like, say I have a stone gargoyle. If I make a mold off that, the stone texturing is going to stay in that mold. So every time I cast it, it's going to have the same texturing as the stone. So it's going to just look exactly like the stone if I make a mold of it. Are you asking Danish if a spin casting?
Spin.
Oh, spin the wheel. Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
The scariest one.
Open topic.
Let's talk about resin casting.
Oh, okay.
Continue what you were talking about, Slim. That was interesting because I'm a model builder myself as a pastime.
So do you buy the pre models, then you just put them together, or are you creating anything and then putting it together?
Well, I do some scratch building, and I do some mainly it's just I buy pre-built kits and I assemble them with some scratch building involved. So.
Yeah, definitely. I did a lot of that as a kid. You buy the model and then you put it together, but then you're also having to sand certain edges and then take your razor blade and cut certain places and then trying to fit it together and then make it so it looks seamless. And that's a lot of fun. And the fun part with what I do is say there's a broken part. What I can do is take that, put it together, and make a mold of it, cast it, and then make it whole again, and then use it. Or if you wanted to reproduce any part of one of those things, then you could just hand it to me. I make a mold, and right now it's a 2-part casting. So I take A and B and put it together, mix it together, pour it into my molds, and it's a gravity casting. And then what we do afterward is we put it inside of a pressure pot.
Vacuum.
Yeah, we do a vacuum, and what it does is it throws the bubbles out of it. So then I get a clean casting. Yeah, it removes all the air, or at least it goes to the cap or the funnel at the top. And then if I get air bubbles in there, it doesn't matter. So sometimes we make it so there's the top is a lot taller, and we pour all the way to that top of the pour spout, and then it makes sure that we don't have any air bubbles afterward.
Well, I've sculpted my own parts, like using putty, epoxy putty and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I've done that, you know, to repair broken parts and stuff on some of the models that I've built. But yeah, I've been building models since I was a kid up to now, right now. Huh?
And breaking them?
Well, no, I mean during construction, if a part gets broken or if a part needs to be modified, I, you know, can use putty. Use 2-part epoxy putty.
So, Philip, the kind that I use is a 2-part, and it's called like 1200X or something like that. There's so many different types of double resins that I couldn't tell you the number. Other than it's called high density resin is what I use, and so it's supposed to be. So when you buy a cheap plastic product like at Walmart or at a convenience store or something, when you drop it, the reason it breaks is because the molecules inside that plastic are very loose. So it's a cheap plastic. The resin that we use, the molecules are very tight, so it's called a high impact. So I can take it and I can throw it against the wall and it won't break because it is more structurally sound than say a cheap plastic or a very light metal as well. It's actually stronger than some types of metal.
I used to use these aftermarket kits you could buy that were cast in resin, made by a company in Belgium. I think they were bought out by somebody else, but they were called Verlinden, and they had a lot of extra like added parts you could buy as kits to add to certain models.
Nice.
And that was all handcrafted, and they could only make a certain amount of the molds, you know, cast a certain amount of parts from the molds. So once they've cast maybe 5 to 7 castings, have made that they couldn't make any more because the mold would be like ruined.
Yeah. There's one-off casting. If you're doing plaster casting, I forget what it's called off the top of my head right now. Where
lost wax.
Lossless casting is where you cast it once and then you break the mold to get the piece out. Right. You usually use sand and plaster to do those, and that's for bronzes is normally when you would use that kind of casting. We use rubber molds, and so our castings, I can get about 100 castings out of it, and then once they start tearing apart, all I have to do is fill it with wax and then pull it out, and then I re-sculpt it to make it look like it's supposed to, and then I make another rubber mold. So every 95 castings, I will make a new mold.
I'm interested. I'm working on a Viking ship right now, and I wanted to fashion or get some crew.
Yeah.
For the ship, but I'm thinking of having it 3D printed because I want to have a whole bunch of Viking characters on the ship. But
I don't know if you can see what my camera is focused at, but that's what the family made. It's a funeral cart, horse-drawn carriage.
Linda, you got to blow up Slim's window.
I see something.
I'm trying to get it there, but this camera is really crappy. Okay,
wow.
So that's a horse-drawn funeral cart that my family made out of pewter. So that's what we've been doing for 50 years, or since I've been alive for 40 years. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Pretties.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's one of my favorite designs that we've done because I'm into the occult, obviously. So.
But I was thinking of making the crew, the Viking crew myself, with just wire and some sculpt. What is
Sculpt it or sculpty? Yeah.
Sculptry or something. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I know what you're speaking about. It's kind of like a clay that you can kind of mold, and it kind of dries in the air. Is it that one? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like I have to dedicate like a whole bunch of time to that. I don't know if I want to.
Have you looked into seeing? So there's a bunch of offshoots of D&D games that they make the characters out of metals for them, and I believe there is a pirate themed one, so you may want to hit up the game shops or look at one of the game shop websites where they make the little characters for your D&D games and see
I believe Hero Forge is one of those.
Yeah,
it's one of the more popular and versatile ones.
Yeah, I've heard of Hero Forge, yeah.
So you may want to look there first and see if they're scaled properly, and if they're there, and if they look like it, and if they do, then you don't really have to do anything. You can just get them, and then they're paintable and also kind of moldable a little because they're made out of a soft metal.
Well, I have to figure out the scale I'm gonna need first, and then positioning. I have to like draw it all out and figure out how the final scene is going to look.
Yeah.
Because I haven't even gotten to that stage because the ship is still in stages of being constructed. So.
Well, let me know if you have any questions about anything, and I'll try to help you. That's what I like doing, is helping people figure out their projects.
Sure.
You can have Linda. Have Linda model for you.
Maybe.
Just because I'm Danish.
Yeah, just only because you're Danish.
Yeah.
Hello,
Okay.
God the good one. In the house.
Hello, God.
God.
I don't normally say that. How about we spin the wheel and see another? I want to see some cool. Nice.
Supernatural.
Oh, you have a queer supernatural fan in the house. Things are bad for us. The fans have been shipping, which is basically like doing romantic fanfics and stuff of Dean and Castiel for like the past 10 years. And the writers wrote a shitty ass I love you right before Castiel got taken by the Empty and died. And I love Supernatural. I want to kick the writers' asses. That was some bull fucking shit.
How do you
I'm sorry.
How do you really feel?
It's only a show.
But the thing is that we're kind of tired of seeing that shit in mainstream media. It gets tiring after a while.
Yeah, I get you.
Especially the bury your gays trope, which is essentially what happened. It was basically like, oh yeah, somebody confessed their feelings for, a member of the same sex, and then they died. Is essentially what they did, and I'm really sorry to any Supernatural fans. I just spoiled you, but honestly, I don't know how you're on the internet and haven't gotten spoiled yet, to be honest. Because the only way to not get spoiled is not be on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
The fucking alarm for the house keeps going off in the garage. It went off 3 times.
Supernatural.
Supernatural, I'm telling you.
You've got a shifty ghost in your garage.
Yeah, what else could it be?
Getting robbed, man. Better go do something.
Yeah, they're ripping me off right now.
Those damn ghosts stealing your tools.
Damn ghosts.
Hey, never again.
Isn't there like a meme that goes around every once in a while that's different variations of what you think having a ghost is like, all spooky and scary, and then it's like what it's actually like at 3 a.m. Yo, Frank, shut the fuck up so I can go to bed.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
The first supernatural experience that I had was I was born in Estes Park, Colorado, and my dad, my uncle, and we would go ghost town hunting. He took photos for National Geographics and publications like that because, you know, we're in very beautiful places. And when they went to go do something about like the aspens changing color, he would take photos, and then National Geographics would do a write-up about it, you know, by his photos. So we were up in the mountains one day, and we had parked, and there was a bridge going across a ravine to a abandoned house, and it was right outside of a ghost town. So we had walked across the bridge, went inside the house, and there was a table in the middle of the one room, because it really was just a cabin, and so it was just one room technically. There was a table in the middle, and then there was a painting still on the wall of this older gentleman. So my dad and my uncle took some photos inside, and then they left me inside and went and walked out to go take photos outside, because that's where his main money was taking photos of actual nature, not the dilapidated houses and stuff. We just did that for fun. As they left the room and were walking around, I stared at the painting again, and I got fixated on it for some reason. And all of a sudden, the gentleman in the painting was looking to the side, and all of a sudden he looks at me, and then he comes out towards me, and I go running out of the cabin screaming. At that point in time, my father and uncle had gone across the bridge and were at the car. So I go screaming out of the cabin, running towards the bridge, and the bridge disappears in front of me. I go to the ravine, and I go, I can't go. The bridge is gone. And they're going, there's a bridge. The bridge is there. Just step, just go. It's there. And I go, there's no bridge. I can't see the bridge. And they say, just step, it's right in front of you. So I go, okay, screw it. And I just step, and all of a sudden the bridge reappears, and I go running across the bridge. I jump in the Jeep, and we go driving past. That was my first supernatural experience.
That could be its own movie right there.
Yeah. I've experienced a bunch of other fun stuff, but yeah, that was my first fun experience, and I was probably 5 or 7. I was probably 5 years old, because we moved to California when I was 5, and I was when I started having memories that I could remember. So it must have been around that age.
Well, I can't say I've ever had anything happen to me that I could say was actually supernatural at any age. So
I've always been able to explain away everything. Like, what I think happened was my brain was just tricking itself. You know, like, I don't think that and again, I was 5, and so my brain. So if you look at psychology of eyewitnesses, they actually found out that when you recount a story inside your head, or an account that happened in real life inside your head, you're not recalling you seeing it, you're recalling every time you told the story. So every time you tell the story, your brain may have thought something different, or you may have changed it without realizing it.
it's like the telephone game.
Exactly. It's just your brain is that trying to talk to your consciousness, and they're not always completely remembering everything. And they've also figured out that if you lead a witness, they sometimes will remember the lead. instead of what actually happened, because you're kind of guiding them, and their brain will kind of fill in holes, and that's how your brain works. Is
it fills in gaps where the missing spaces are, and that's where, like you said, the suggestions can fit in.
Our eyes are only seeing every couple milliseconds, so there are gaps in between those, and so your brain fills in those gaps. And so that's why card tricks work. Sleight of hand works because your brain is filling in gaps. So when you don't see that card change or the card disappear, it's because your brain couldn't see it while making your brain realize that happened. It's going to fill in the gaps by saying that card has disappeared, which in reality, no, it's behind his freaking wrist, or he slid it down his.
Well, they say the hand is quicker than the eye, right?
Exactly, and that's why.
So masturbate, no one will see you.
Well, if you're that fast,
That's an old joke.
Totally.
TMI.
I remember as a kid when I was at the age where you see shadows in your room or you're afraid of things under the bed. I remember I used to be kind of afraid of going upstairs in the house.
Yeah.
And at night. And so, at one point I was outside downstairs. I was looking upstairs. I'm not afraid of you, ghost. Screw you, ghost, and all this stuff. And then later that night, I was in my bed, and then outside I heard boo, all this noise and stuff. Yeah. So either it was my dad. So my dad worked at night. So either he heard it and he was mad at me, and he was he was trying to scare me as a kid, or my brother came home drunk or something and was outside on the porch moaning all night. It was probably a funny coincidence that happened. Or I never did figure out what happened there, but that was the thing where, and at the time too, I was going, it's kind of freaky, but there's got to be a natural explanation for it.
Well, that's what as I grew up or became a teenager, I began ghost hunting. And through that, I actually exorcised 5 of my friends' parents' houses by figuring out, like, the doors creaking when this window's open. Well, that's because the draft is coming in and making that happen, or figuring out they have bad electrical in the house. That was another thing. And in San Diego, most houses and along the coast that were old were from the 1920s. The wiring for that was very bad, and it would cause a lot of electrical fields that would, if you went in that corner, it felt fuzzy. Well, that's because there's almost a short happening because they're live wires next to each other. So you're gonna feel a buzz in that corner for a reason. If you go turn off the breaker and you go stand in that corner, well, for some reason you don't feel it anymore. So as a teenager, I began trying to figure out what I thought was real and what wasn't, and trying to figure out supernatural. And of course, a lot of times I couldn't figure out exactly what was happening, but there was a handful of my friends' houses that I went in that their mother was running around screaming their heads off. Our house is haunted. We've got these ghosts, and somehow somebody connected them with somebody who died in the house. And honestly, if you have a house that's over 100 years old, somebody's died in it.
Well, that's comforting.
The likelihood is most likely. You can't say, nobody. So if somebody ever has died in your establishment, your house, your building, your restaurant, your bar, then something happens weird, and it's easy to associate it. The connections make it easier if somebody, you're like, I was walking to the bathroom and I thought I saw a shadow, and then somebody's like, well, that 100 years ago some guy got stabbed in the bathroom. You're like, whoa, wait, there's my connection. Again, I can't disprove 100% supernatural, but I've went and seen a bunch of fun stuff. And that's the other thing with running an oddities tent. I have haunted objects all around me right now that were given to us because they were claimed to be haunted, and now we put them in the oddities tent and show them off to people.
That's
well,
great.
correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation. you know.
Exactly. Your turn. Yeah. I know there's
Have to-
examples of that, but exactly.
Collation,
Right.
like
Causation.
stapling paper.
Correlation. What?
It's really difficult to get ghosts to collate. Yes, I will agree to that. They hate doing paperwork.
What's that about a stapler?
Yeah.
He's just messing with you, Sam.
I know. I'm not as dumb as I look.
What somebody was saying, Never Again is saying some house was run off of 130 amp fuse. Wow, that's crazy.
Oh, the dome.
Oh, but from 1914. So the fuse was one of the big glass ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't think it was called a fuse back then. It was called something else. But okay, I could see that. That's scary.
Oh, fire hazard.
Yeah, no, that's scary. When I was running our club in Tijuana, Mexico in 2001, they had live wires running around all the walls. There were 12 wires coated, so it was live wires running around the whole club. A nightclub. It was a strip club before, but it was a club that had just live wires running along the walls. So what I did is I went in, turned off all of the breakers except for one outlet behind the bar, so there was no live wires that were live, and I plugged all our sound system into one breaker or one fuse technically to run everything, so that nobody could accidentally fall into the wall and kill themselves, because if you accidentally pushed your finger on it, you were going to blow yourself up.
That's not advisable.
No,
Not a best practice.
no, scary wiring for sure.
Could be
Never
wild
become
as fuck.
part of the circuit.
Could
Yeah,
be a wild day at the club though. Right?
yeah, electrifying.
Watching people explode.
So just like my stepdad told me as a kid, never trust the electrician before you. So always turn off all your breakers, turn off all the electricity, make sure that big red handle that says on and off on the breaker is off, because you never know if that person didn't wire it right, or if the person who made the house in 1914 didn't wire, because some people don't understand grounding, or, you have somebody building a house in 1914 and they don't know what grounding actually is or how to ground it properly. I ran a nightclub in Fort Collins that was grounded wrong, and we ran bands. And so the guy before me thought it was okay to pull the third prong out of all of the electrical devices and then plug it in, because he thought the buzz would go away with that, and which it did. But the problem is if a surge happens, everything blows up. And the club owner, the guy who owned the building, didn't want to spend the $200 to get it grounded properly. So I had to work around bad grounding for a year and a half by plugging things in weird and turning things off. And when people brought in acoustic instruments, trying to get them to sound right with different microphones was very, very difficult. But we were an Irish punk bar, so when people came in with violins, I said, "You know where you're playing, right? An Irish punk bar. I'm not going to have the equipment to hook up your violin. Sorry."
Wow.
Yeah, good times.
But that was real dangerous, that place.
Oh yeah, no, I'm like, you could. I mean, I got shocked many times, and it was a fire. It was a hazard for sure. But I wasn't the owner. I was the GM. I'm just the GM. They're paying me just to like hook up the sound and make sure the bartenders there, and that if there's a fight that breaks out, that my security gets them outside the door, and the cops are already in my parking lot, because we were known for having wild parties. So the cops from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. just sat in my parking lot and waited for us to either call them to come in or waited for the fight in the parking lot to happen.
One or the other. Wow.
Or a combination of them. I mean, we put on hip hop events, punk events, and heavy metal events. So we put on the genres of where most likely fights were going to start.
Yeah, it happens.
What? No church choirs?
It's almost inevitable.
No, because they don't give me enough. They didn't pay enough money for us. That's why. So you only. And then downstairs, we had a 3-story club. So downstairs, we could rent that out to the college sororities and fraternities, and they'd have their sorority parties or their little parties downstairs. And I had a bar for them, and they had their own area, and we gave them wristbands, and so only they could go in and out of their little parties, so they could have private parties there, because Fort Collins is a college town. So we had the college kids downstairs, and then we had the punk kids upstairs. And when they mixed in the parking lot, oh, it was fun.
Oh, by the way, if I didn't mention it, the wheel that we're spinning today, which is over there, or is it over there? Is about Friday the 13th, the day. It's associated. The words and topics on the wheel are associated with Friday the 13th, the day.
That's why they brought me in, because I'm the spooky guy. Ooh.
No, it just sort of worked its way out that way.
Oh, I'm enjoying it. I'm glad. I know all about that. I may show you my shin later. I have a bunch of Friday the 13th tattoos, especially a gimp with a ball gag, and it says has 13 next to it. So
how many tattoos can you put on one shin?
I have 5 on the front of my shin, probably.
Wow.
I have my artwork is mainly badge style, which means you get like a bunch of little tattoos everywhere. So I just have a bunch of skulls and faces tattooed all over my legs and the insides of my legs and everything. So my legs are just skulls and masks and faces is what my legs are comprised of.
There's a saying, how many tattoos can you tattoo on your shinny shin shin? If you could only tattoo as many tattoos on your shinny shin shins as you can tattoo as many.
I like that. That's good. I got to remember that.
But I don't know how it goes.
Hey, Godless Scummer. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, Jeff. What's up, Jeff?
Yeah, maybe I can show. Hold on.
No, Linda's not here to zoom for us.
What? There's a shin.
So there's my Gimp 13 tattoo. And then I have my farting pig, and he's farting 13.
Oh, that must hurt on the shin.
Yeah. Oh, crap. Sorry. I showed my genitalia for a second. I'm sorry. Uh-oh.
Nobody has to know.
Okay. Now we're going to lose this for sure. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't notice. My fault.
Where is Math Pig?
I didn't see anything.
I'm cyborg, so it was fake. It's not real. It's plastic.
Yeah, it was.
Did you make it yourself?
It was CGI.
Yeah.
CGI.
CGI.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to. Sorry there.
Anyway,
don't mention it. Shh. It never happened.
Should we do something? Should we spin the wheel?
I was going to say, let's spin the wheel.
Spin.
Spinning. Kismet.
That's a beach here.
That's related to Kermit the Frog,
Yeah.
his little brother.
I have no idea what it is.
It's a town on Fire Island.
Kismet.
Australia.
Long Island. No. The island next to Long Island.
Said something about luck or. Okay, I looked it up and I forgot already.
Whoops.
Yeah, I cheated. I went and looked it up. It's fate or destiny.
That was it.
Oh, I thought it was
Yeah.
Chinese food.
And I was thinking it was a beach on Fire Island.
I'm only kidding.
I thought it was what Mr. T's girlfriend would say to him.
It's fate or destiny.
Kiss me, T.
It's kismet. What'd you call me?
Or boyfriend.
Your mother's a kismet.
What?
Huh?
So what is it really?
Destiny
Fate or destiny?
Fate, yeah. Fate or destiny. It can describe what kismet is.
It's
Oriental
apparently
term,
a
it says.
Yiddish word. It's apparently a Yiddish word.
So usually I ask really nicely before I can touch destiny or fate.
They want to lose fingers.
No.
Get a slap. Get slapped.
Yes.
Wind up getting a right cross to the jaw.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's also a remake of a
Whoops.
1945 movie made in 1955.
What is it about? It
sorry.
obviously doom or fate but what's the actual plot?
A roguish poet is given the run of the scheming Wazir harem while pretending to help him usurp the young caliph.
Oh my goodness. I
What
have
the
to.
fuck is-
Oh my god, I gotta watch that later.
Yeah. What is that? Is that a movie?
Yes, it's a movie.
Oh.
It's an adventure musical fantasy
Called Kismet?
Okay.
called Kismet, 1955.
That sounds familiar now that you said musical fantasy.
Apparently, the movie has been remade like 4 times. No,
Yeah,
3
probably.
times.
3 times, yeah.
Oh, that's trippy. And I've never. Wow. Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Must have been so good they had to remake
Yeah.
it 4 times.
That is weird.
And Mark
Okay.
Caesar says it's a dyslectic Kermit.
Yes, there you go.
Kismet. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Kermit's special brother. He wears the helmet.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Watch
like a
out
movie.
for the helmet.
Sounds like a movie Brandon Fraser would be in.
Yeah.
That's He rides the yellow bus. He rides the little yellow bus.
It could be Dark Helmet.
Kismet. Yeah. That was my on-air name in college when I was on radio.
Dark Helmet or Kismet?
No, Kismet. Hey, Kismet
Dark.
coming at you at WKLP 95 on your dial.
Okay, so who believes in destiny?
I don't.
I didn't figure anybody.
Oh,
in this-
certain things will happen, but I don't think you can predict certain things.
Yeah, definitely. There's like the web theory, where whatever you do fans out to other people will affect other things. Kind of like the giraffe sneezing in Africa, which causes.
Oh, the butterfly effect.
Yeah, there you go. That kind of silly thing. I believe in that, but not that there's a solid. And that's what's funny to me about people that pray for change. Supposedly, if there's an omnipotent being out there, then it already has a plan. So you praying for it to change, why would it change that? So if it already has your destiny or fate planned, you going out of your way to try to change that doesn't make any sense if it's all knowing. That's where the whole conundrum of that comes up and shows you that it's not right, because that is the fallacy or whatever. You're like, oh, that doesn't make sense if this, because the Bible does tell you to pray to change things. And that's what Catholicism is all about, is all the different deities that you pray to. Like there's the priest for bowel obstruction, there's the saint for eating disorders. Yeah, there's a saint for bowel obstruction
Well,
in
then the
Catholicism.
Bible.
Okay, I'm an
says-
ex-Catholic, so which saint is that?
I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head, but if you look up saints, there's actually a saint for bowel obstruction. So again, instead of
Yes.
I mean,
Beautiful.
So
Satan
it's-
intestine.
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I should just said, yep, we got a saint for everything.
Well, in the old days, that was a big dang deal. I'm sure bowel obstructions. A lot of
Yeah.
people probably died from it.
Yeah, and they did, and so it was a thing, and we were looking up something about who you're supposed to pray to for certain things, and that's where we found out in Catholicism, you don't pray to Jesus for everything. You pray to different deities to solve different problems. But if God's all-knowing, why does he have all these people to solve problems when he could just fix it himself?
Because he's the red-headed stepchild of the gods, and he can't do anything right.
Well, obviously. And if Satan is so powerful that he can challenge this almighty deity, then I'd rather go for Satan because he's more fun.
Yes.
Well, Satan, if you do a comparison in the Bible, Satan's actually far less abusive.
Oh, yeah.
The worst thing he ever did was trick Eve, and you can argue whether or not that was actually a bad or a good thing.
And all he did is question God, and then God said, well, fuck you, I'm going to send you to make you your own proprietor of this place down below, and now you get to control the damned. So honestly, he can make it a fun place or a not fun place. Why would he make it a not fun place? If you controlled a dimension, would you make it fun or make it not fun?
Depends on. I would do both.
Okay, I get you.
I'm just petty sometimes.
And I get you. So if there were child molesters or people that like were real bad people, send them to a very, very horrible place.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be about whether or not they loved me or worshipped me. It would be, okay, no, you are an objectively horrible person.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Well, in the Bible, Satan killed, I think it was like 10 people.
Yeah. I think it's like a
Yeah.
I think it's a
In
thousand
Job,
or something like that. But
Here's the thing.
in
Here's the
Job,
thing.
he gets permission from God to kill people.
yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing though. God not only in the Bible destroyed the world once, his promise wasn't that he would never destroy the world again. His promise was he would never use a flood to destroy the world again. And then in the book of Revelations, now granted, I'm not as up on my Bible because of my background, but I do remember certain things in Revelations, and I distinctly remember that same God saying, I have no problems with burning the world when y'all get bad enough. So the promise is not that he won't destroy the world again. The promise is when I do get mad at you again and destroy it, it won't be the same way.
So instead of coming down, because it's almighty, right? It's omnipotent. Instead of coming down and giving us guidance that hasn't happened in 1,500 years, instead of that, no, I'll just destroy the earth, burn it all up, and the people who believe in me at the time, they'll rise up, and everybody else can be damned because I haven't talked to you in 1,500 years, and now you want these people that I haven't communicated with for that long to believe in me.
Yeah, I mean, logically, that God does not exist the way it's described.
Yeah.
There is a possibility that the God possibly exists, but if he does, he's either not as powerful and I have nothing to fear, or he is and he doesn't give a flying flippity fuck. And therefore I don't either.
That matches the Gospel of Judas.
Yeah.
Where we have never seen God because God is so far away that he's not here.
Well, you can't see God, or you'll surely die. So
on Dogma, more a set, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So can we see God or can't we see God? I don't know. Can we or can't we?
Okay, I need to watch that movie as an atheist. The last time I watched it, I was still coming out of Mormonism.
Wow. So it was kind of freaking you out? Wow. Yeah, that'd be different.
Hey,
Yeah.
The Bible,
You're gonna love Metatron and
It
the
says that
Muse.
if two or more people pray, their prayer will be answered, won't it? That's what it says, right?
Well,
Yeah,
they say that prayer can move mountains, right?
Well, yeah.
So,
let's see
but-
it move.
But if
But
two
they
people
also
pray,
say never put God to the test.
ooh, there's your scapegoat. There's your catch-22 right there.
But if you-
Loopholes.
Always, you weren't enough, so that's why it didn't work.
Yep.
Which
Yeah.
is why you apparently need God.
Keep moving the goalpost. Oh wait, you didn't.
Which-
do this. Oh wait, you didn't do this. Oh wait, you didn't. You have to do this. Oh wait, you didn't do it. Wait, you gotta do this. It's like continually moving the goalpost, no matter what you do.
Yeah, for sure.
maybe if two people pray and two people counter pray, that crosses out the what is it? Pray.
That explains everything in my fucking house.
Well, there's two people that are screwing things up every time.
Wait.
The whole thing with the prayer is already. Slim already explained it. If it's already predestiny, if it's destiny, why the hell are you praying? Well, it's just
Wait.
mental masturbation.
Are you a Calvinist?
Who? No,
You.
no, me?
Yes.
No, you.
Who, me?
Yeah,
No.
you.
You.
No, not me.
Not
Well-
me either.
Well, see, my big thing that proves to me about God not interfering with our lives directly, and why I decide that I'm not going to indulge in believing in it, is I was molested in Christian school in kindergarten.
Oh, that's terrible.
So I firsthand found out that God was not there for me, or why would it let that happen with a person that's supposed to be involved in the church and is supposed to be holy, and they're supposed to be the one that's upholding God's law? Why would God in the church let that happen to me? Because it was in church, so that proves to me right there that you don't have control over either us, or you are okay with that happening, and or you don't actually influence our lives right now. You did what a teenager does when they get the sea monkeys. You open it up, you put it in, and you watch it happen. You don't interfere. It's a science experiment. So if we're a science experiment for it, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And if I have to talk to it when I die, I'm gonna go, hey bro, Chica, whatever, you already know what happened to me and why I did what I did. You already know why my knuckles are tattooed. It's partially your fault because you didn't interfere, or you didn't talk to us. Where in the Bible does it talk about machines, an engine, a cell phone, a microchip? That is actually very...
Can I point those verses out to you?
Yeah, please do.
Give me a week, and I'll figure that out, and then I'll point them out to you.
Okay.
Challenge accepted.
Yes.
Challenge accepted.
Awesome.
You can make anything fit the Bible.
No,
as long as you have enough time to figure it out and make it all
and
fit.
enough enough
fit.
desire to not to
So
some people I don't think are purposely dishonest, but I think that you have to be at least lying to yourself to make some of those connections. Like I don't there are some that are definitely purposely dishonest out there, but there are some where I don't think they realize that they're deceiving themselves.
Okay.
Because you have to do a lot of mental gymnastics sometimes to make that shit fit.
yeah.
Shall we spin?
Please.
Spin.
Sorry, I did not mean to bring it down.
Spin.
Here we go. So
What? That's a double.
Superstition.
Oh, it was supernatural before. This is superstition.
Superstition is the way.
Yeah, don't get me started on Supernatural again. Like I said, I am not a happy camper with that show.
Super.
Well, we were talking about knocking on wood earlier, and that's a superstition. So what's another fun Oh, and we talked about black cats and ladders. So what's another fun superstition that is out there?
Oh, I misspelled black cat.
I've been trying to figure out what that was because I thought it was just my brain not wanting to like.
I thought it was Black Captain, like there was a mysterious captain on the ocean in the pirate times that was.
Well,
Yeah, no.
Black cat.
I was trying to figure that out because my brain was not computing. It
Just
is
for that.
fun down here where I'm at. I don't deal with rain very well, and Etta has been overhead. I think it's gone now, though.
Edit.
What? Wait, what? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, Etta was over my head.
What's
Wait a
edit?
minute. You had a black cat and your husband over your head? What?
No,
That's what I
Etta.
heard.
Etta?
Etta. The tropical storm.
Tropical
I
storm.
think it was like the 30th we've had this year. But anyways, well, no, actually, I haven't actually had a direct storm all hurricane season, which is really fucking weird. If I were a superstitious person, I would expect a category 5 to come round over my head next. Just because, like I said, I live in northern Florida, and we haven't gotten hit the entire season.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Superstition.
So I know a few people who think that cats sit on your chest and steal your breath away while you're sleeping,
I've heard that.
which
before.
is really odd to me.
I
Well, that's
had-
like stealing your soul with pictures.
Yeah, well, I had a cat who was very, very fond of me, and she would sleep on my neck and on my head, and every once in a while she would end up over my face. I don't believe she was trying to steal my breath, but they think it's associated with babies passing away in their sleep, and they think that it's from cats laying on their face trying to get warm and not understanding that they're doing anything wrong. And same with people. They say that the cats will sleep over them and then end up suffocating them. So that's an old wives' tale that people were scared of. Because if you're an adult, you're not gonna not move the cat. You know, when you stop breathing, you're gonna go, get off my face. And so, I mean, I pushed her off every
Yeah.
time. And even when she slept on my neck, you know, I'd wake up and be breathing heavily or trying to breathe, and it would be hard because she's on my neck, and I just move her off. And then, you know, so I think that's where the wives' tale kind of came from. But they're not trying to harm you, they're just trying to be cuddly, and they end up
Yeah.
being on your face.
Well, the thing is that you can't ever completely get rid of cats' aggressiveness.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a couple of them that, you know, just like, but my cat's favorite pastime when we go to bed is making biscuits on my neck, and sometimes he hits the windpipe.
Totally. Yeah.
Biscuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Biscuit. What kind of biscuit? Biscuit?
Kneading. Meow, 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 you know.
Except he uses his claws and digs deep.
Yeah, I have scars.
Scratch marks right here. I don't think they're picking up on my camera, but I have scratch marks from where he just goes. "Ugh."
Yeah, I have actual scars on my upper thigh from the cat that I was talking about, being affectionate to me that much to where she would claw into my upper thigh on my right leg, and I have scars across it because she would knead so hard because I wouldn't respond because I can take pain, obviously. So she would just go as hard as she could at it, almost like she was at a scratching post on my leg sometimes, and I'd have to pick her off and go, no, honey, please stop that because you're drawing blood, and I don't need that much blood being drawn right now. So I definitely understand or have seen, cats are overly aggressive just because they think, that we can take it, because they forget that they have a layer of fur that causes them to not get hurt when they get in, when claws come at them. They forget we're just skin, and so they think they can be as aggressive with us as they can with each other or with dogs or with other animals, but we don't have that layer of fur to kind of protect us as much. So yeah. I've worked with animals most of my life, and so I've been bitten and scratched by coyotes, raccoons, squirrels, possums, opossums, dogs, cats, every type of farm animal I've pretty much been bitten by as well. So horses and cows, and because everything pretty much nibbles or bites,
Sure, you must be tasty.
Yeah, and then goats love to nibble on everything, so you end up getting nibbled on by goats for sure, especially if you take them off of the clothing that they're trying to chew up. They'll chew on you next. So yeah.
I don't have any superstitions that I can think of.
You want to know my favorite superstition?
Sure.
It is not putting a 13th floor on a building. I know that's very, very old school and does not happen anymore. And since the 1960s, I don't think it's happened in the Americas. But, if you go to, Europe in certain places, I remember it happening. And then in the Americas, if it was built before 1950, they will not claim the floor as being a 13th floor. It will go 12.
Which is funny because it's still technically a 13th floor. They just don't want to call it that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. How does the superstition change just because you call it a different number, even though the number's still the same? Does Satan get tricked by you calling it a different number?
You have to sacrifice the 13th floor that nobody goes on.
Satan is so powerful that that's going to trick him.
Yeah, exactly. No, that would be hilarious. And actually, I've heard of companies actually having the 13th floor empty, and they only have 12th and 14th employees in. So people have actually gone that far with that superstition.
Yeah, that's kind of wacky.
Yeah, especially because there's no proof. I mean, if you could show me some evidence, I would love to see it. I mean, my whole entire life, I've wanted ghosts to be real. I've wanted, the tooth fairy, all of that stuff. We all want all the fun stuff to be real, leprechauns and, but I can't find enough proof of it yet. And I've taken a lot of psychedelics and I still haven't found the fairies.
Slim, you just have to believe, Slim. You have to really believe. Really believe.
And I tried. I really tried. But,
Oh, you have to add a few more reallys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I really need to stop.
And then a few more. And then after, you got to add. And if it's still you don't believe, you gotta really.
That's my favorite thing when I was ghost hunting or looking for Bigfoot or doing, looking for supernatural things. There's these people that were like, no, man, you just gotta believe. And it's like, I'm sorry.
I don't have to look for Bigfoot. I have 2 of them right here.
Well, but the thing is I was taught how to use the scientific method with a hypothesis to figure out things, and I go through that I'm a world-renowned sword swallower. I swallow a 2-foot sword that's 2 inches wide. I'm only 5'7", so that's one of my world records, and I have 10.
I knew there was a reason we invited you on the show today.
Yes.
I'm only kidding.
So, to do the research that I had to do to figure out on paper if it was real or not is one aspect of how you go by research. Then I went to real sideshow artists that were world renowned, and I asked them, can you start letting me in on these things? Luckily for me, I had already broken a couple world records by the time I started swallowing swords, and I had multiple renowned sideshow artists that helped me along the way. So I went from paper to real people being able to guide me through. And then I had a world-renowned sideshow artist come to Denver, and I went to her house and I asked her, how do I get a sword? When do I go? What do I do next? And she pulled out the sword and said, here, you know how to do this. She said, you've been training for 2 years now. And so I learned firsthand a physical way to show how you come up with a hypothesis and how you use the scientific method to go through and take out variables until you get to a conclusion and you don't kill yourself. So now I can swallow a sword without dying. And without that proper information as a background, you will kill your. There's no way. If anybody tried to put solid metal down their throat without any training, you'd get your gag reflex and you would just immediately puke.
Do you have a gag reflex? Not
anymore.
Okay.
I've had to spend 2 years putting stuff down my gullet to get rid of it.
Oh, I was assuming you didn't have one. Okay.
Yeah. So normally, what is your esophagus? It's an involuntary muscle, right? So when you put food in the back of your throat, you automatically swallow. It's just like breathing. It's an involuntary process. You do not think about swallowing when you swallow, right? You chew food and it just happens to go down your throat. You know, you really don't think about it. So what I had to do for 2 years is I had to keep pushing those reflexes until I had to think about them to get them to work. You have to turn them off. So it's like a valve, you know, you turn it off and you don't respond until you turn it back on. And there are 3 flaps to get down to your stomach that you have to get past. So besides the muscles, there are flaps that also respond. So for 2 years, I had to work on changing those until I got to the point where I now do not gag, which would cause restriction on a metal blade that would cause it to cut. And the other thing, cutting does not happen from pushing on a sharp object. It is caused from abrasion. So as I put the sword down or pull the sword out is the worst times that cutting can happen, because that's going across tissue. So that's where you really have to understand.
Well, can't you get one of those? Can't you get those swords that sort of retract into themselves? And then...
Totally. Yeah, there are magician swords. There are 2 of them. There's one that rolls upon itself. It's like a piece of foil, and you have those little rolly bracelets that you used to slap on your wrists.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they have one of those. It's a sword, and so what you do is you click your tongue, and it pushes that little thing, and it makes it roll up inside your mouth as you push it down. So there's that one.
Just roll. You have a roll in your mouth as it.
Yeah, and it looks, and then you put the handle. Yeah, totally.
You just pull it back out.
And then you unroll it as with your teeth and with your mouth. You go.
Yeah, that I could do. I could do that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a sword swallower cheat for sure. And this is what magicians do. So magicians, obviously, they're sleight of hand and they do fake stuff. That's the difference between a sideshow artist and a magician. I actually will do it for real and risk my life to show you some amazing stuff where I could be faking it. The other magic sword is the handle is this long, and it goes the sword goes into it by pushing a button, and then you push another button to release it, and as you're pulling it out, same thing, you hold it with your teeth and it pulls it out. But hold on.
Uh-oh. It's getting real. It's about to get real.
What's going to happen? I don't know. Where'd Linda go? Linda must have had to go and do something for a moment.
All right, so the sword that I swallow, and the reason why we swallow a katana is this is made out of one piece of steel. So see the hilt?
Yeah.
That's how this steel that runs all the way through this sword. So even though there is this, that's only just a little cap, but it's one piece of steel. A katana can only be made out of one piece of steel or a traditional one. And the reason that we use a curved katana is because you can't fake it. There's no way to retract a curved piece of steel with those aspects. And then when I swallow a sword, I don't press it the same, I don't touch it the same way every time. If you watch my videos, every time I swallow it, I hold it in different ways to prove there's no buttons. So on my videos, there's no way to retract this piece of steel.
So you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, so Slim
It's in
Living
the description.
Oh, is it? Because I want to see that channel more than any channel I've ever wanted to see in my life.
Yeah,
In the description.
I have lots of video of me swallowing swords. I put my hands in animal traps.
Link in the description.
Is it in the description?
It's in the description.
Honestly, you can easily Google it. I've already checked.
Yes, Slim Living Cyborg.
Right.
You'll find me on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, Twitter, Tumblr, all of the above. I'm on pretty much everything. And then I have my own website as well that shows all my stuff.
Yeah, I found your website. It was fairly easy on Google.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Nice.
And that was like the fun that I had with debunking certain things like ghosts and stuff. Just I found a bunch of books on how to do seances, how to palm read, how to do tarot, scrying of different types. There's tea. There's using things that move. You hold a weight and it moves along a piece of paper that has questions on it and stuff. And so I learned a long time ago how to work in all these different mediums, I guess is how to put it. And then I found out how to do the real life fun stuff, like putting your hands in animal traps and lifting weights from my piercings.
You must be familiar with James Randi, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people know who that is.
Yes.
He's a famous debunker of religious and spiritual and supernatural kind of stuff.
Yeah. He's not the one that just died, is he?
So he had the amazing Randy. Yeah, that's the man I'm talking about.
Yeah. He was one of my great influences as a teenager for sure.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of his seminars or talks on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's pretty interesting guy.
Yeah.
Just say the word, anyone.
Spin.
Nope. Wait.
No. Hey, what?
Wait.
Too late.
Wait.
What are we waiting on?
Does Amiga have a story?
No, I don't.
Yes, you did.
Sorry.
Oh, bring it.
Tell it.
What are we waiting for?
Amiga had a story. Amiga wants to share.
Tell it.
Bring it on.
No,
Yes.
I don't have a story.
Do it.
Well, I did. I thought
Bring
I
up one.
did see a ghost once, but
Okay.
Please tell.
that's
Tell
not.
us.
No, tell.
No. All right, you want to know the ghost story?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
let me premise it by saying this was back in the 70s.
Preface.
And I was
At your
totally out of it
Yep.
on weed.
weed.
Who's that?
And we were sitting in the hangout room, all right. And outside, and on one wall is a bay window, and then about 5 feet away from that is a lamppost by the walkway that comes through. So when anybody walks by it, you can see them. You can see their shadow, right?
Hmm.
And then one time, we were hanging out, doing nothing. Well, we were doing something.
Smoking weed. Yeah.
And we thought that somebody walked by, going to the front door, but nobody rang the front door. We thought that's strange. We waited a while. Then again, we thought somebody walked by again, and it was like, who is that?
Who dat?
And then finally, we all got up to the window by the curtains, and we waited like idiots. And when we saw that shadow come across the curtain, we pushed the curtains aside, and there was nobody there. And we all freaked out and smoked more weed.
Yeah, a reason to smoke more weed.
You found what you were looking for. An excuse to smoke more weed.
Well, I once an old girlfriend of mine, when I first went to her house, well, I like knocked on the door and I'm looking in the window and I see, if I move this way, I see at one point I saw a little girl in the back room, and it was really dark and I could see her face. But when I moved this way, her face would go away. I'm like, what's going on?
This is sounding a little creepy.
Yeah, it was creeping me out. And I'm knocking on the door, and the mother came. I says, hi, hi, what's going on? I says, is there a little girl in the back room? They says, no, there's no little girl in the back room. I'm like, I saw a little girl in the back room over there, and she's looking at me like, this is a weird kid, right? So I walk in the back room, and there's a doll on a chair sitting on one side of the room, and there was a mirror on the other side of the room. And if I stood there, I could see the doll's face in the mirror, and then I just walked back and I saw the doll's face in the mirror, and I said, there's the little girl.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I walked all the way back to the door, and I said, there's our little girl. And I told the mother, I said, come here and I'll show you. And that's how I wound up meeting her parents. But that was easily 30, 40 years ago.
And with that story, I'm sorry to tell you, we have come to the end of our show.
Subconsciously, or I'm only kidding.
No.
Huh?
I want to thank Slim for showing up today.
Yeah.
I want to thank Treya for showing up today.
Yep.
I want to thank Dorna for showing up today.
Who?
Yo.
Who's door now?
Yo. And I want to thank Doc Fearsome, Mark Caesar, Critical Cripple, Never Again. Wow.
Yeah, a lot of guys, a lot of people in the chat today.
Yeah, Greg showed up. Robert X showed up. Woo!
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Invite me back anytime. I'd love to hang out again.
Make the circuit.
You are so invited back.
Oh my god.
Awesome.
Definitely.
So
I got lots more stories.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I kind of figured that you hadn't run through all of them.
Yeah, no.
Let's see who else showed up today. Oh, Jeff Godless Scummer showed up today. Harmonica Man was here. Woo! And they had fun in the chat. And God the Good One was here.
Yes, God was here.
Yes, God was here.
God is here.
I tried to disprove him, but he was here, so.
And
right.
Philip was here. Nerdy Rodent was here. Oh, Ox was here. Did I mention everybody? Probably
Mark's
not.
even? Mark's. Did you mention
Yeah.
Mark? Okay.
Yeah, I mentioned Mark.
Mentioned Doc.
Yep. And
You mentioned
What?
Greg.
Is the running joke that you're not thanking Amiga for being here, or is this just my first time on the show?
Amiga.
well, is this your first time on the show?
Yeah, first time on this one, yeah.
Nerdy Rodent.
Yes,
Say
I
Nerdy.
mentioned Nerdy Rodent.
Nerdy
How
who?
could I not? How could I not mention Nerdy Rodent?
I don't know.
Never again. Greg Hartwig. Some guy
I
named
think-
eoSam.
Who's that guy?
Never again.
Who's that guy? Where's Linda? Is she? How are we gonna close the show? Where'd
Yeah.
Linda go?
Linda's gonna push the magic buttons.
The never-ending show.
Oh, because
You're
she has full control.
Yes, she does. But what you guys have to do is all say goodbye.
Goodbye. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
See ya.
Guys.
Bye. Or we bye.
Bye. I don't know.